I'm Zach Snyder.
And I'm Aden Matthews.
And welcome back to another YouTube podcast. One-stop shop for anything and everything related to YouTube.
The one show where Zach said I could do the new intros, but then the immediate next episode decides, fuck it. I'm gonna take it back. So, yeah, I guess it do be like that sometimes, but it's unfortunate.
So I thought we'd alternate. So.
Oh, well, yeah. That's kind of the thing you mentioned before we start the episode, Zachary, and not after the fact, after I publicly called you out.
Yeah.
Because then it looks like you're in the wrong.
Wow. You hate to see it. Anyways, welcome back to the podcast.
I see how it's shifting the episode. Roberto ain't gonna get you out of this one, Zachary. All right. You can't just shift focus to our epic advertisement right away. You know,
You're right, but I
kind of have to have a little bit of.
Well, first off, what's our topic going to be today?
Oh yeah. So today we're talking about how to give and receive criticism, which either is a valuable resource or the worst thing on planet Earth. You know, it really is one of those two. Not really a room for anything in between.
I have to agree. You can tell from our beginning of this episode that both of us did not give or take that criticism fairly well at all. So that was how not to do it.
It was intentional. We planned that out. The whole thing. It was wild. We wanted it to flow right into the topic. So it was all just a funny bit, for sure. Not totally something I'm legitimately pissed off at. But, you know, maybe we'll learn together how to take that criticism better, you know? So yeah, it'll be a good episode for everybody involved.
I think so. But before that, it is time for the most epicest part of the podcast.
Oh,
where I say that our sponsor today is Awesome Creator Academy with the YouTube Starter Kit.
Yes.
If you just so happen to be getting started on YouTube and you have a little bit of money to throw around, why not check out the YouTube Starter Kit? For only $99. $99. You can get over $1,500 of value and dozens of downloads from templates for advanced YouTube thumbnails, channel artwork, end cards, lower thirds, royalty-free background music, fonts, and more. Pay one price, have unlimited access to future downloads as they come out. Check out the link in the description of the show notes, and in doing so, you'll even be supporting your boys over here on another YouTube podcast.
But Zach.
Mm-hmm.
But Zach.
Yeah.
But Zach.
Yeah.
But Zachary. What if you don't have $100 and you still want to support the podcast?
Well,
I'll tell you. You can support the podcast on Anchor. At anchor.fm/another-YouTube-podcast. You can decide to support us financially at $1, $5, $10 a month, and we'll read your name on the podcast. While we plan to do this podcast for a really long time, like picture the end of the universe, right? The eventual heat death of the sun. And then like go 2 weeks after that. And then that's how long the podcast's going to be. So
absolutely.
Somewhere in that realm. The more financial support we have, the easier it'll be for us to maintain a consistent schedule. Because when the heat death come, you know, it's going to be kind of hard for me and Zach to get together to record this. So it's really going to come down to y'all's financial commitment to the episodes to see if we'll be able to do it, you know. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. I was going to say, well, then go fuck yourselves. But I like what you said instead.
I thought you were just going to read it. Like, read the rest of it. So I was like, no, you can't. You already read the first part, so I just cut you off. But no, well, go fuck yourselves would have been way better. Personally. Oh, well. You can't have it. That's how you know this is a real podcast, because moments like these are just in the episode, and we don't ever re-record them or nothing. They're just they're out in the open.
Or anything. They're just there.
They're out, send tweet, and then it's out.
Absolutely. You seen these clips of e-girls on Twitch, like telling their viewers, look, it's only $5. If you don't have $5 to pay me to watch my content, then you shouldn't even be watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's amazing.
You want to do that? Basically, is what you're telling me. You want
I can't. If I could, I feel like I have to. I feel like I have a really important part of my biology that's not allowing me to do that and get away with it.
Damn, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
because we'd get more support that way. I think.
I think so.
If you were to pull it off,
gaslight the viewers.
We'd have people at home being like, "Fine, I guess I will."
I guess
if he's demanding it like this,
I guess I'll give them my hard-earned money while they just sit there talking for 2 hours.
Sometimes not even about YouTube stuff either, just random shit.
Like Naruto.
Like Naruto, baby. We're bringing it back. We're bringing back. Me and Zach still been watching Naruto on the daily, and it's been epic. It's been epic.
I think so. But unfortunately, this is not the Naruto podcast. So
no.
Tragic,
I know.
We're going to be talking about criticism. How to
Something
give it.
Naruto cannot take.
He really can't.
He's great at giving criticism to people.
Oh, he is.
Unfortunately, when the criticism is directed at Naruto's ninja techniques, he is very known to pop off instead of following said advice.
Yeah, it's kind of it's one of his many character flaws.
That's a whole nother can of worms. Every YouTube podcast episode, I think, can in some form or way be traced back as applicable advice for Naruto. Like sub for sub.
Think so.
If Naruto had watched that episode, he would know that subbing himself as a clone, 30 of them, is not always the best strategy all the time. So he would have figured that out if he just watched the episode or the one about or the one about
yeah.
If he had watched the one about VidMe getting shut down, he would have known that when ninjas are brought to their limit like Zabuza and they're in an unfortunate financial situation, people will go to great lengths to try to bring back normalcy. So it all ties back together.
Points are being made.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Somebody should give us criticism to not have 8 minute intros to this podcast.
And we would respond, "Fuck you, asshole.
You didn't give us money.
Where my $5 at? Then you're allowed to critique this podcast." That's a new rule we're establishing here. But criticism, right, is a tricky thing because in a lot of ways, YouTube and art is subjective, right? There are objective elements to the process, but a lot of what the final product, how it's received, whether or not people like it or not, is usually in the realm of subjectivity, right?
Definitely.
But when you put out content and do a big ether void like YouTube, knowing how good your content is and how much people either like or dislike it is so valuable to people like us that it's almost more important than I think views and likes and even subscribers, because like getting good constructive feedback and criticism on the type of stuff we do is very much the key to like accelerating growth and like getting better at our craft.
I definitely say so. There's like a certain level of content creation, especially on YouTube, where it's you start making content for yourself and you kind of experiment and figure out like, okay, what do I want to do? We've talked about that like in our branding episode not too long ago, but it comes down to like, once you kind of figure out what you want to do and you start doing that a little bit, then it's that criticism that's really going to kind of help you move in the right direction as far as like finding your audience and continuing to make your content better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
there's also really bad criticism that can have the reverse effect of slowing you down and
Yeah.
weighing your creative freedom options, and or just straight up giving bad advice that will actively make your videos worse. So,
This is true. Criticism
it
is
all
one of those
depends.
things where anybody can give it,
yes. Yeah.
which means that you shouldn't always take it.
You got to kind of like have a level head about it, I think.
Right. It's like figuring out, okay, what criticism is right, what criticism is wrong. And I guess we're going to get into all of that, right? Because there's it's kind of a nuanced topic, actually.
Right. Where we draw the line specifically is probably different from people listening to this at home and where they draw the line. And this is not necessarily a subject I'm like 100% a master at or totally experienced in. But, I've had my fair share of feedback and critique and a lot of things that was legitimately helpful and sometimes unhelpful. I'll go ahead and give you an example of criticism that was good and that really helped me.
Okay.
And this is before the days of Blue Couch Productions. We're talking the Duper Brothers, which was a Let's Play channel starring me, Ethan, and two Austins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're putting out Let's Plays. A lot of episodes are coming out. Each of the four of us has a series that's all going on at the same time. And with the frequency and uploads, not everybody was checking out every video. And so I thought it would be a good idea to make a highlight video, right? Showcasing the best parts of the series. It would give us a bit of a channel trailer, and people who like the highlights would check out the series. And so I went through all the episodes. I got all the clips together. I edited the highlight. I uploaded it.
Mm-hmm.
And people hated it.
Really?
Hated it. Hated it to death. And it was all because, you know how in highlight videos, typically, after a bunch of clips, there's typically a transition into the next set of clips.
Yeah.
PewDiePie, for example, in a lot of his most famous highlight videos, like has that duck sound, right?
Right.
That he would put in between clips. And so me watching said video thought, oh, I need a funny transition between each clip. And so I took the What News blooper video, the part where Austin messes up his lines and he slams the paper on the ground and goes, ah, like that.
Oh no.
And that in itself would not have been a bad thing if I used it.
Okay.
But I used it for every clip.
Oh.
Every clip. So there'd be 4-second highlight, transition. 5-second highlight, transition. 30-second transition. And I never changed it. I mean, half the video was that transition. I guarantee you.
That's kind of funny.
And it got to the point where it was so annoying.
I bet.
And it took up half of what people thought about it. That despite the highlights themselves being good, the video itself was unbearable. And it was having a friend tell me like, hey, maybe don't do that. That was like, oh, okay. And I was kind of peeved off at the time because I'm like, I put all this work in this damn highlight video and everybody clowning on me for doing this. Right. So I wasn't very good at receiving the criticism.
Right.
But looking back on it, 2020, yeah, absolutely. That was a huge mistake. And having that criticism meant that anytime I ever edited something like that, I made sure to like not overload it with one particular element or shit like that because that can get very annoying.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's good because you learn from it.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a lot of mistakes that we make as content creators. And so, like, the more people tell us about them, the more we kind of learn from them, right?
Mm-hmm. What would you say for you was like a really good piece of criticism from any of your time on YouTube?
So, back in 2012, when I was doing Sabijan Games Let's Plays, I was putting out a shit ton of content, and I was a part of a Let's Play forum group, and some of the big guys on there that were friends of mine decided to like start doing some channel reviews of some of the people on the forum.
Mm-hmm.
And me also being like one of the bigger guys on the website, I was like, yo, go ahead and like review mine because I want some feedback. And they did, and boy, oh boy, like it was just like thing after thing after thing. It was like, okay, cool, I gotta fix this, I gotta fix this. It was a matter of like, I had a really bad intro on all my videos that was not funny or entertaining and kind of cringy. I had like pretty bad audio. I had like some of the gameplay just wouldn't be good. My commentary wouldn't be interesting. I wasn't editing anything.
So this dude essentially made an exposed video.
Basically, well, it wasn't that, fortunately, because they were friends of mine. It was like two of the guys. Good. They were very nice about it. They were very nice about it. They absolutely could have just told me my content was shit, and they did not. But they had like went through everything. It was like, here's some things that like we want you to improve on because you have potential. Like, you're good on getting people on our website, and you're good at like the community aspect of things, which arguably has like helped me a lot over the years. Mm-hmm. But the content was not good.
Right.
So, and that was great. I'm really glad that I got that like super early on too, because I easily could have just kept doing what I was doing. And sure, I probably would have like figured some of it out on my own. And a lot of what I've learned on my own, like it's been through trial and error, right? But yeah, no, that right there, I was at over 100 videos at that time. And I was like, okay, cool. I see all this criticism. I need to fix a lot of things. I'm just going to delete all my videos and restart.
Wow.
And so I do that. I like delete all of my main Let's Plays except for like a few one-offs. And wished I had privated them so I still had them.
Right.
But it's fine because the first stuff that is still on there is still pretty bad. So it's like I get how far I've come. But yeah, it helped. It helped a lot, for sure.
So you received the criticism fairly well too. It was good on both ends.
Yeah, definitely.
Because then it allowed you to like get better quicker as well.
Yeah.
There was there's some videos too where like a lack of criticism was definitely an issue. Because there was just, I don't know if it was a Chrono Trigger or Twilight Princess where like the commentary just wasn't in it.
There's an entire episode of Twilight Princess with no commentary just because it didn't record. So I was like, well, I'm doing this series instead of, re-recording the commentary. I just decided to upload the video. Post-com.
Just upload it.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I really wished I had gotten more criticism early on. I wished I'd get more criticism now. Like, because that shit helps. But
absolutely.
No, for sure. I feel like a lot of young creators don't get enough criticism.
Or the bad kind.
Or they get the bad kind.
Right. Like your voice sucks.
Have you ever have you ever gotten any bad criticism?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. Like there's a lot of shit, like in particular. Have you watched that Red Dead Redemption video with like me and Ethan?
I never watched it. I know what you're talking about, but I've never seen it.
So at the time when we recorded that, I thought it was pretty good because our commentary back and forth was fun and we were getting through the game and etc. But I remember this one kid specifically at high school who had watched it when it came out and had basically told me to the effect that the video was bad because we were clowning on the game.
Oh.
Which is like, like it's a fair point, right? And I'm not saying it's the type of shit where like I, never would I understand it basically. But it was the type of thing where it was like, oh, people care a lot about the story to a lot of these games. And so there was a period of time, even on Duper Brothers specifically, where anytime like a cutscene or like a story significance happened, for one, the subtitles always had to be on, and for two, you couldn't talk during any of it.
Right.
Which was pretty common wisdom at the time, but I also think as a result, a lot of those Let's Plays are not as funny or as entertaining as they could be because they treat themselves like walkthroughs.
Oh, definitely.
That's not what we were, right? And it really did make a lot of videos boring by comparison. And that came a lot from people who gave advice like that we were clowning too hard on the game, or we weren't focusing too much on the story, or they couldn't read the subtitles of it. And so, like, it, you know, there's a lot of people like that. And some people still follow that, like, that mindset, especially a lot of old Let's Players who treat it more like you're just basically giving commentary as you play the game and nothing else. But in current YouTube climate, like, it's pretty common knowledge now that, like, nowadays it's more about the personality and making an entertaining video.
Oh, for sure.
Leaving the gameplay on and relying solely on that.
Because that can get boring and unentertaining.
Get very boring.
I mean, there's people that do commentary tracks for movies, and it's like, if they can do that, I'm gonna give commentary track for a cutscene in a video game that ultimately is worse cinematically and entertainment wise than most movies.
Yeah. Nowadays, I just if it was like that, and I was in charge of editing them, I'd edit out any of those silent bits with just cutscenes. I just wouldn't put them in the video.
Oh, that's fair.
You know, and granted, like,
fair.
You can make the rule and be like, oh, you can't talk during them. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll just cut it out of the video.
Just cut out the entire cutscene.
Because it's literally wasted space.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Even for story narrative driven games, the series that do well are the ones that react to said narrative in game. And if you're not allowed to do that, like, your video's suffering.
Yeah.
You know? There's a reason a lot of the most popular Last of Us and Undertale Let's Plays are the people who reacted to said events that were happening on screen and didn't just be quiet through all of it. Right? Like, that's not fun. You might as well just play the game at that point for yourself.
I agree.
But that's a subjective one too, right? I know people with that mindset. But it is the type of criticism that's like, I know what my content is, and I know what I want it to be. Complaints like that are more down to, like, how the video itself is structured, and not necessarily a complaint with, like, the technical aspects of it. It's criticism that's, like, not helpful. Because I already know what type of video I'd like it to be, right?
Right. So what I gather from most criticism that I think is good criticism is, if you're telling me that, like, there is something technically that I can do better with the video, whether that means, like, my audio's bad, either get a new microphone or do something with the mixing, or my video is garbage, like, either get a new capture card, get a new video, a new camera, figure out lighting, whatever, right? Those kind of things help out a lot. Where the subjective stuff comes in, a lot of what you talked about obviously are, like, sure, you can give that criticism, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I need to take all of it.
Right.
Things like pacing. If you tell me my pacing in a video isn't too good, then that helps. I can, like, okay, I can work around that. But then if you tell me that you don't like the way that my show is structured, then
that's not helpful to you.
That's not helpful at all, because I've been doing the show for 100+ episodes and I got my structure down, and I enjoy my structure, right?
Typically, the people who leave those kind of comments anyway are not coming back to watch the video.
Exactly.
Later.
Right.
So by them leaving that criticism there, if you do change it, like, let's say hypothetically, to, like, conform to that criticism, they're probably not even going to be around anymore. You know?
Definitely.
So you're making it less fun for the, like, 90 other people who love the show and who watch it consistently. And you, being a person who didn't like the show in the first place, leaving criticism like that is a dead giveaway that, like, this isn't the type of viewer that I even want on my stuff in the first place. Because I know where the criticism is coming from. You know? Whereas I can tell a lot based on, like, wording and comments when a person comes up to me and is like, yo, I really loved the video, but at 1340 in there, you said something that was just blatantly untrue. Like, I looked it up on the internet and, like, fact checked it, and your research was off. Okay, cool. My mistake.
That's
I
good.
Do better about that. Like, sure, But when it's worded in such a way where it's like, this guy's a hack. Everything he wrote is stupid. And even if they bring up the same part that's like poorly researched, I'm not taking that criticism because it came off on such a bad energy level to begin with. That even if you had good criticism in there, the likelihood of me accepting it is so low because you came off as hostile.
Oh, definitely, definitely. That's like bad criticism 101 is if you're an asshole. Like,
yeah, I'm not accepting anything.
I'm probably not going to accept anything because it's
even
not...
if you're right.
That's fair. That's fair. It's weird. Like, it's why I get frustrated at different review channels who are reviewing I'm going to say an anime Sword Art Online. Somebody reviewing Sword Art Online and like talking trash about the writer and like bringing his personal life into it and being like, you're a hack, you're awful, like all that kind of stuff. Like, that does not help that writer become a better writer.
Mm-hmm.
It does not help the media that you're talking about become better in the process, right?
Improve, yeah.
Exactly. And so if you're watching YouTube and you think this person that you're watching is making content that I don't particularly care for whatever reason it is, whether it's an objective or a subjective quality, if you can be as polite as possible while still getting your point across, that's usually where the best criticism comes from.
From people who mean well, you know?
Exactly.
From people who are legitimately watching this and see potential in it enough to where they want to leave a comment about it. Because there's good enough qualities there. Like, in that stretch, it's almost as nice as just having like people who love your shit. Because if they went out of their way to criticize something and were nice about it and took that much energy out of their day to do so, chances are, like, it's probably good criticism. And
for
not
sure.
Not always. Some people mean well and just say dumb shit. And, like, you take that for what it is. But, like, if a random person took the time out of their day to see potential in a video you made, enough to leave a comment on how to improve it, and if the criticism isn't personally attacking you, then, like, you know what? It's probably good criticism. Or it's at least somebody who cares a lot about your content. Which is a high mark in general. Getting people to care is so hard on YouTube.
That's the big
somebody
word.
to care. You know?
Exactly. And that's the big word there. It's like potential. Like, I don't leave comments on channels unless I think it has potential. I don't leave like any kind of criticism or anything on smaller channels unless I think it has potential. Because otherwise, if I don't think it has potential, then I genuinely just don't care. And I'm just going to move on and look at something different. Right?
Yeah. Leave the channel, you know?
Yeah.
Go watch something else. There's thousands of people, like millions of people out there.
Yeah, that's okay. If you just don't like me because you don't like my face, like, that's cool, man. Like, just move on. It's fine.
There's a lot of creators like that, but I'm not leaving a comment on their channel to tell them about it, right? Like, they can't. They can't fix that. It's who they are. It's what they talk about. Different vibes are for different people, and you don't have to appeal to everybody. You know, there's room for everybody to have an audience of their own that like you and what you do specifically. Trying to like appease everyone because you got like some bad criticism from someone won't help you at all.
And that's the other thing. Trying to please everyone means you're probably not going to please anyone.
Even yourself.
Even yourself.
Yep.
Because the compromises are going to be made at some point. You're not going to be able to appeal to everybody that comes to your channel. And it's okay if people just don't like you or your stuff. Like, that's just fine. It's okay. You just got to move on and keep doing what you're doing, because I know a lot of people that have gotten bad criticism and even good criticism and just stopped making videos because it got to them. And that's the worst way to take anything on YouTube.
Just stopping altogether. Like, I'd rather you get awful comments every video if it meant that you were going to continue to make videos, right? Like,
right.
Improve, right?
And I'd rather you like just put out the same type of thing over and over again until you figure out like what needs to be changed.
What you want.
Right?
We don't want people to quit, right? That's not the goal.
Exactly.
That's not how anybody should be wording their criticism with the intent to get somebody to stop making stuff in general, you know? Even if it's awful, right? The goal should not be, I need to get these people to stop. It should be, I need to try and help these people with what they do.
I agree.
Be giving, right? Like, if it's very clearly obvious that it's a fix that's like easy to implement and doesn't take a whole lot of time out of your day, just let them know, hey, Hypercam 2 watermark is easily fixable. You know, like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I noticed the audio was a little rough here. Do this like EQ that take 5 seconds. There, you're done. Hey, I noticed you put like 30 JPEGs in your thumbnail. Little thing called PNGs. They're transparent. You can put them on there, and wow, look at what you learn because of that.
They're so much better.
Already. Easy stuff. I think where it gets tricky for me is we've been clearly talking about like giving criticism to bad content.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's how it sounds.
Right, for sure.
How do you go about, in your opinion, giving criticism to good or great channels? Because neither of us really believe that you reach the peak of quality, right?
No, for sure. There's always
that you're
room
somehow
to improve.
perfect at some point is never going to happen. So by that logic, everybody, no matter how small or how big, can potentially have some form of criticism that can make their channel better. But the amount of criticism definitely depends on the content itself and how good it is. Like, how do you go about critiquing good or even great content?
I think the biggest piece of advice that I usually give like good or great content is more of along the lines of like, just keep doing what you're doing. Because usually for people that have good or great content, they kind of understand what they need to work on and kind of, you know, have that inner drive of continuing to improve. Not everybody, but I'd say the upper echelon of content on YouTube, right? I feel like those creators usually understand the creative process to the point where they're always willing to improve and are always looking to improve. Because what we can probably get into at some point in this episode is how our biggest critics are usually ourselves.
Yeah.
Sure. So I like to give like words of encouragement and like just keep doing it, keep putting out uploads, put out more, those kind of things. Those are kind of my biggest pieces of criticism and advice to good and great content. But other than that, like the minutia of things, it comes down to if the creator is in the, you know, has the ability to change little things here or there that can be improved. Like it's difficult, right? Because usually it's hard to see like what exactly needs to be improved in a channel that's good or great. What do you think?
I think this is an area where me and you maybe slightly differ, in simply because of like where I come at it from. I know especially for people in our own group, I always kind of at least pride myself in trying to be constructive with every upload if people want to hear it. Right?
For sure.
If you don't want to hear it, I'll shut up. Right? Great.
That's
video.
fair. That's fair.
Love it to death. Continue to put out more. But if you care to hear it, if you come up and ask me, hey, I want constructive criticism, and their content good, no matter how long it takes, I'm always willing to put in the effort to be like, all right, let me find one thing. Right.
Right.
And it's typically not many things, or even a thing that's detrimental or that could ruin their channel. It's usually like, hey, at this point, the pacing kind of weird. Hey, at this point, that transition kind of looked a little glitchy. Hey, at this point, I could tell that you were trying to edit the audio, and at this particular point, it looked like you cut midway through the sentence. And while that won't be an issue to 99% of people, because I edit video, I'm able to point it out, and that's a thing you can improve on, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Or like audio levels, mixing, effect type stuff, the speed. I know Patient for years got on to me about like having transitions or text on the screen with nothing on them, but then being like longer than 5 or so seconds. She hated that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And she was right. Like, typically it only takes about 1 or 2 seconds for any viewer to read something like that on screen. And if it goes on for too much longer, then it cuts into the flow of the video.
Mm-hmm.
So like nowadays, I usually just don't do those transitions anymore. But if I were going to, keeping them roughly around 3 seconds or so is a better sweet spot than having them be 5 to 10 seconds. And that's a thing where it's like, okay, did me getting rid of those transitions really improve my like grandstanding in YouTube content? Did it lead me on the track to making 10 out of 10 videos? No. But it was that minute little change that made these videos more bearable to people who watched them, potentially got more people to enjoy them, and bettered my craft, even if it was in a 1% kind of way. And I really, really love that shit.
Definitely.
Because when I'm a small YouTuber and I don't have a whole lot of metrics or success to go off of, it becomes crucial that the people who do watch my shit like my shit and love it. And if there's any like little thing that they don't flat out love about a video or they're not talking about, that's a sign to me that like I need to improve my shit in order to potentially, if more people stop by, they'll enjoy it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm almost using my audience as a bit of like a guinea pig, like test subject type shit, asking them questions, getting their feedback. And if it is something that I can actually implement, I'm usually very quick about it to doing that. Even if it's stupid shit like descriptions or thumbnails, like, you know, if it's that 1%, I'm on it. And so I think for like people like Jay and Parker and people in our friend group who do ask for that sort of shit, even though their content is good and even sometimes great, I'll go out of my way to find the one thing if that's really what they want, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think we do differ in that, and that's not a bad thing at all. I'd say that, especially with us two kind of being the two, you know, we put out the most content in our group. And I feel like in a lot of the ways we're kind of the leaders in our group in terms of content creation. Mm-hmm. I feel like we kind of balance each other in those aspects. You go into the nitpicky and like very specific pieces of criticism, and I try to like, you know, give that encouragement, like, dude, just put out more, you know.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, a little bit.
I like that.
Because it's like, well, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I think even for me and you specifically, we take it to a whole nother level. Where if it's like, I know you, right? When you ask me criticism about a video or something, you know I'm straight up just gonna tell you, and that you're not looking for encouragement from me because you know I like your stuff regardless, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But you don't come to me for that encouragement. Hey, great video, keep it up, make more. And I don't like ask that of you. Right? Like, if I ask you to give criticism, you're usually pretty good about, like, just telling me straight up what the issues are. Yeah. But not for other people, right? If me and you are a bit different in how we approach our own content than we are to, like, let's say other people in the group.
And I think that's what it comes down to, like, it comes down to, like, experience and kind of mindset around.
For the right people.
Right, definitely. Because if I'm giving advice to, let's just say hypothetically, I had the opportunity to have a meeting with PewDiePie tomorrow. And PewDiePie wanted my 100% like criticism, constructive criticism on his content. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it because that's not what he would need. He's got 100 million people telling him that his shit is good. Like, it would be like, and he's not going to quit. He's not going to quit anytime soon. I can easily...
Your advice isn't going to get him to stop, right? He'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at somebody who's got like 300 subs and I like completely tear into their content and I'm like, this needs to be changed, this could be changed, blah, 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 blah. Like, there is a big possibility for this person who's not making a living off of their content, who doesn't, you know, who needs more of these words of encouragement. Like, there's a bigger possibility for them to quit. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of, I don't want to be an asshole first and foremost.
Absolutely.
But I also don't want to discourage anybody because I've seen what discouragement looks like firsthand in a lot of different kind of creative fields, and it sucks. It really is awful to see somebody that you look up to and you think is like good creatively just decide to quit because too many people wasn't giving them enough encouragement or was tearing a hole into them a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
When all they really needed was a little bit more encouragement, and they could just continue doing what they're doing, and they would get to, great one day.
A lot of like well-driven people, I think, improve naturally, regardless of the criticism, if it's there or not.
Mm-hmm.
They'll improve naturally by doing it. And so for them, it's more of a matter of like knowing that other people care about it to keep them going, to stay on that drive and stay on that path, to just put out a bunch of shit and improve through doing that.
Definitely.
I definitely think like me and you are a bit more on another level as being like fairly okay with whatever hits the fan.
I'm cool with whatever at this point, right? Like,
right. Like
I've had enough people tell
fine.
me that I suck or they hate me or like
we're fine.
Like it's cool. I'm not quitting anytime soon. As many jokes I've made about quitting YouTube, like I clearly am not going to be quitting anytime in the near future. And if I do quit, like it's not going to be because somebody told me that I needed to change up something in a video.
If you were able to make like a well-structured like takedown video on Blue Couch Productions and everything you don't like about it, I'm probably agreeing with you.
That's how I feel about my shit.
I'm probably
right?
like, you know what? You spent this damn long on this video. You probably right.
Right?
And that don't affect me. I'll go right back to just posting that shit and probably taking some of that advice, right? Like,
yeah.
It depends. Is it like a drama video or something, or are you legitimately coming at it from a good place? Like, context matters hugely here.
Definitely.
Knowing the people who are giving the criticism. Having a community of people that'll even give you criticism in the first place is hard.
Oh, yeah, like, definitely.
Legitimately asking your online friends or family members or friends legitimate feedback is almost next to impossible because they care too much about you to really tell you any of that straight up. And so what that meant for me was, like, number one, finding that community of people, and number two, like, being upfront and being like, yo, I really do need actual straight up criticism and not just affirmation. I can get affirmation from anywhere, but I can only get criticism from the people who like my shit. And sometimes it's hard to get any of that from people who just legitimately like you and don't want to put you on their bad side, who don't want to sever a relationship, basically. They're trying to, like, save face on that aspect.
Right. So I would encourage...
Shit on me, dude. I don't, like...
Yeah.
Please. But not everybody is, and so you got to be aware of that, right? Who the type of person you're talking to is, and what they legitimately mean by give me criticism is different for everybody.
Right. I would encourage anybody that is wanting to, up your craft, like, obviously try to open yourself up to more constructive criticism and do so in a way where you can have somebody in your close circle ask them, say, look, pretend like you don't know me and give me, like, advice that you think would help me. And that way you're getting it from somebody you trust. You're getting it from somebody who appreciates you and is not going to let you down.
Mm-hmm.
Because that will start opening you up to more criticism in the long run.
I think so.
But I think equally, you probably, I would even argue, like, try to find ways to where you can put your stuff out in maybe bigger forums of a bunch of people you don't know that have no connection to you, and see what they say as well. Because, like, you might get some really bad comments from that too. But, like, these people don't matter because you don't know them.
Right, so it's not going to personally affect you if one of them leaves a negative comment on it, right? Because you don't know them, right? No big deal. You move on. And chances are, putting a bigger sample size out there means you're going to get more diverse opinions than just asking the same one or two people who very clearly have biases in the type of content they like.
Definitely.
I'm very good at giving a specific type of advice. I'm not so good at giving, like, advice in terms of, like, image manipulation stuff. Like, I'm better at thumbnail stuff, for sure. And Jay will ask a lot of the time. but I'm not nearly as confident in my advice to that as I am about recording an on-camera presence.
Mm.
That's the type of shit I can know immediately, whether it's good or not. Whereas thumbnails, it's like, all right, I got to keep in mind this person's style. I got to keep in mind the aesthetic they're looking for. And I got to keep in mind that even if it doesn't personally jump out to me, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the blatant or maybe obvious mistakes. Of like, oh, hey, I get the style, but you probably didn't intend for the text to cover up this homie's face.
Right.
So I'm gonna let you know. But there's different levels to it where there's some stuff I feel more comfortable giving criticism on than others. Because I know my own weaknesses and my own skill set. Like, I wouldn't dare criticize somebody's script because I don't write my own a lot of the time. I wouldn't know what a good script would be if it hit me in the head. Like, like I'm not the person to ask when it comes to writing for videos. But I have my own strengths as well that are better. So like, that's what I think is special about getting a large variety of people, like Zach said, in a bigger forum, because you have people who are talented in all these sorts of things, and different viewpoints are very helpful to getting different takes and new opinions on stuff.
There's a website that I used to use, and it's still up, and I could still use it again in the future, called unopinion.com. And it allows you to upload a video or share a video of yours, ask for feedback, and then you give feedback to other videos that pop up.
Interesting.
Basically, you get as much feedback as you give to other people. There's like these credits that you have to get. And I got some interesting feedback for the 3 videos that I had put out on there. Like, my Final Destination recap was one of the videos I put on here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, and so like I got like, wow, this video brings back memories. I know how difficult voiceovers can be, but this was but this was a little long. Try cutting everything down to the very, very best clips and making the video around 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, that's
You're right.
You absolutely right. Really good editing. Since you don't have more views, stick with it. I would cut this down to like 7 or 8 minutes so more people would stick around to watch it all. Yeah, but like, no, there's like a lot of good stuff here, like very unbiased opinions. And when you ask for feedback, you can ask very like specific questions to the people. Be like, what do you think about my script? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And if they don't have an opinion on it, or they don't want to give an opinion on it, they can just skip that video in the queue, and move on to a different video. But it's a cool little website, I think.
No, I think that's awesome. Be sure to leave a link to that in the episode description.
Definitely.
For people to go check that out and let us know your thoughts on it. I haven't used it myself, but it does sound cool.
Yeah,
which is great. I think like the first thing about like criticism is that like if you're asking for it, you've already kind of accepted the basic fact that typically we're very biased with our own work and what we make, right?
Definitely.
I think what a lot less people realize that people who give said criticism also have their own very unique biases and the type of shit they like and enjoy. And that's to be expected, right? Like,
I think
you're not gonna find the motherfucker who completely gives you the objective, like, unbiased take on your video. And that's where the importance of having multiples are, is you can kind of form a picture of what a lot of people are saying and focus on that, rather than the kind of just sporadic things that only get brought up like once or twice.
Right.
But no, like, you know, like, you're a YouTuber, chances are you've reviewed a piece of media before. And if you've made videos critiquing media, like, you know a lot about, like, the process of doing that, of looking into said media, of maybe researching it, figuring out what your opinions are and why you feel that way, you know? And the same is true for, I think, YouTube criticism, as well as, like, watching the video, understanding why you feel the way you do, and what type of criticism you should leave, if any.
Right, because sometimes you watch a video and criticism is not needed.
Nope. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and that's okay.
That's cool. There's allowed to be, like, fine videos, right? There's allowed to be okay videos, even, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
If people aren't looking for the feedback and they just want to put out okay content, You be my guest. Go right ahead. I won't be the guy to raise a finger and be like, well, here's what you could do. Because that's annoying. Right? Like, I don't want to be the guy to ruin someone's vibe if they're not looking for it. But that being said, with our community, there are definitely a lot of people who... I mean, this whole podcast basically is criticism in one form or another.
Oh, definitely.
Right? We're giving advice and criticism to a lot of people, some of whom are probably way more skilled and have way more experience under their belt than we do. But that's why we always preface that, like, a lot of the advice we give is subjective into our own experiences, and that we might have biases other people don't, you know?
Exactly.
So it's hard to say a lot of the time.
And I will say that, like, if you're the type of person that doesn't want feedback, but you're uploading to YouTube, then you're lying. You do want feedback.
Yeah.
You want something. You want gratification. You want views. You want subs. You want something. Because there's many people who say, I just do this for fun. I don't care about, like, what people say about my stuff. Like, you do care because you're uploading to YouTube. At least a little bit. Yeah. And that's okay. It's okay to care about those things. I care about what people think about my shit because I put so much work into it. But I say that because if you receive unwanted criticism, then and you don't feel like you want it at all, you feel like you're like, I just do this just for fun, then fine. Ignore it.
If you're being harassed, right? Like,
if you're being harassed, then just report the comment, delete it, move on.
Yeah.
If it's something like, you could fix this thing about your video and you don't care and you're just doing it for fun and you really just don't care, then just ignore the comment. But if there's just that little bit about you that's just like, man, I do want to make sure my content's good, then
listen to it.
Listen to it, yeah.
I think even in the case where, like, you're not looking for feedback and someone took the time of day to leave a comment, just say thank you and move on.
Definitely.
I think at least thanking the person for putting the effort in, even if you yourself are not going to use it, is the charitable thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to say thank you, I appreciate it, and move on. At least if it's good, right? Like,
right.
Bad criticism, I know we haven't talked about it like a ton, but the type of shit that, like, we're referring to is like shit that you can't change about yourself, format shit. In particular, I've talked multiple times about YouTubers who just have a particular voice about them.
Yeah.
And they get harassed about their voice and they can't change that at all. And I don't think, like, if it's a turnoff to some people, it's a turnoff.
Definitely.
But it goes back to that, like, you're not going to be able to appease everybody, so trying to change things about yourself can be harmful, in the sense that, like, enough harassment, enough bullying can lead a lot of people to, like, not really have confidence in what they put out and then stop uploading or change themselves so drastically in the pursuit of some sort of YouTube success that it's not even worth it by the end of it.
Right.
When they do get it. Because they're not the same anymore, you know? Like, ultimately, what makes your video good does come down to a lot of nitty-gritty technical stuff, but the most important thing and the thing that helps you stand out is you. And a lot of criticism directed toward, like, you personally typically isn't helpful.
No, not at all.
Unless it's the type of thing where, like, you have a weird behavior where you just scream at everything, in which case, maybe don't do that. Take that criticism.
Yeah.
You know, if you slam a wall every episode and somebody comment, hey, you know, maybe don't be so damn angry all the time. That's not necessarily YouTube criticism, but it is.
It's just good life advice, right?
Yeah. Like, maybe, you know, don't be slamming walls half the time and shit. I know you had brought it up earlier too, and I guess now would be a good segue into it. Of, like, we talk about criticism from other people, but the biggest source of criticism is from us, and how we're always our toughest critic.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience been like with that?
I tend to hate myself sometimes.
That's sad, bro.
Like, no, I don't actually hate myself. I do overly criticize everything that I do all the time. And I've done it ever since I was a kid. And I think that some of that is good because it has pushed me to be better at the things that I do. But there is a certain point where you start to overthink way too much, and you're not, you're overthinking and criticizing yourself more than you're actually putting in the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a big detriment to your content, and it has been a detriment to mine in the past.
We talked about it in the first episode, this like idea of like trying to be a perfectionist with everything you do.
Yeah,
before
definitely.
you upload your first video, right? Like work the 8 years on it and try to perfect it to the point where you get it out, and how that's a big waste of time,
right?
Because your first video is always going to be bad. But I think the same principle applies to a lot of people who are like 300 videos in or 1,000 videos in, who are so nitpicky and OCD about their own stuff to the point where like it actively does make the creation process less fun.
Yeah, I can.
And tedious and sad a lot of the time as well. Like, I could have made about 1,000 more videos than what I currently have now if I didn't listen to that voice in my head that thought that something I did at one point in time was bad, right?
Right.
I could have put out way more stuff had I not listened to that voice. Would it have been good? Who knows? But that's not the point, right? Like, the important thing, at least for a lot of channels in small size, is just to put out things and to gradually improve. And chances are I would have improved naturally, and I wouldn't have had to take a 1 month hiatus because I wasn't feeling good about the type of shit I was putting out.
Right.
And that's not to say like don't have a drive and don't improve, but YouTubers especially, and I've heard it from a lot of people, and I think it's a big cause of burnout too. Come from the aspect of being such perfectionist in everything they do, and even when they put out a lot, they just get miserable at it because they're constantly critiquing themselves to the point of exhaustion.
Oh, definitely. It's a big and small YouTuber problem. It's good content, bad content. I feel like a lot of people weigh themselves down because, I'm not doing as good as I could be. I'm not putting out as much as I could. Anything like that. And it doesn't even like start and end with YouTube. Like, it really just continues in all, facets of life.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, like, for me personally, I know that I have put out so much content over the years, and I know that I've continued to grow and evolve and like better myself. But then I'd be wondering, like, why have I been doing it for this long and still not gotten, like, quote unquote successful? And like, that can get to you sometimes. And most of the time I'm good. Don't be thinking about it. But every once in a while, I'm like, well, is my content even good? Like,
absolutely.
And I'm only saying
mixing
this.
that with like depression and anxiety that we both have at least some form of.
Yeah.
Doesn't help either,
For sure. It's wild. It's wild. And by the way, I just realized, by the time this episode comes out, it'll be my 9th year on YouTube.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah. Oh, this episode will go out on the anniversary of my 9th year at YouTube. That's epic.
Hype.
Cool.
Congrats.
Thanks, bro.
It's freaking epic.
Yeah.
I think for me though, it's especially hard in the sense that like a lot of the fun that I get out of YouTube is very much in the creation process and making the videos and getting the comments and seeing people enjoy that. That's one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have a huge, maybe even bigger part in my brain that gets satisfaction not out of the videos themselves, but out of the improvements.
Oh, same.
And that leads to a point where anytime a video is just okay, or it's just fine, or fun, or just, I just wanted to upload, I go way too hard on myself of like trying to make sure every video is a fucking masterpiece. That I'm very critical at the one or two maybe like nitpick non-issues in videos. And that ruins my impression of them, like there's certain episodes of 30 for 30. There's certain episodes of Blue Catch Productions, Midnight Vlogs, Let's Plays that I honestly just have a bad feeling about watching them, even if the video was good, because I know in the back of my head what the major issue of it was, and for most people, it wasn't an issue at all.
Yeah, no, I get you. It's like you can't do both on YouTube. You can't upload constantly and improve constantly at the same time on YouTube. It's absolutely impossible. Like, you're either going to put out a video every once in a while and each video is going to continuously get better, or you're just going to have like a bunch of okay videos in between like big improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being okay with that is probably the biggest frustration on this platform.
I think so. An underrated one, at least.
I think so, yeah.
It got to the point where a lot of my filler videos were just unlisted. And the videos that I actually still liked are those big improvements, and that's what I have up. But because I did that, I somehow like fooled myself into the idea, well, okay, from now on, every video going to be that massive improvement. And there's already episodes of 30 for 30 that I know aren't that massive improvement.
Right.
But people still like them and enjoy them, and I still find parts that are good about them. Heck, even today, and I didn't mention it in the Your Week on YouTube segment, but at the time of filming this, I put out a Claire de Lune video that takes the mashup of the song and mirrors it with Ocarina of Time gameplay. Mm-hmm. It's basically a fancy way of just saying I made an AMV.
Yeah.
But I don't want to use that word because it has negative connotations. But I basically had made this like Ocarina of Time AMV with Claire de Lune, right? Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't have been the video that like I would have normally put out because there's really like, this isn't that big of a improvement from 30 for 30 or the shit I've done before. In the grand history of every video I put out on Blue Couch Productions, this will not be a video that's like in my top 10.
Right.
For sure. Being okay with just putting it out with a copyright claim, even like, not that it impacts the viewership, but it won't be monetized, basically, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
And being okay with it because I had fun legitimately making it and I want to share it with people. Like, sometimes that outweighs any of the negative frustrations I have with videos like that when I just want to share something with people, no matter if it's amazing or just okay. And allowing myself to put out just okay videos all the time makes those masterpieces far more satisfying when they do come.
It does. And I try to remember this myself. And it's gonna be interesting going back to daily in June, because it has been a while since I've done that. So I'm wondering, like, will I be okay with it, right? But I'm gonna have to be, because if I didn't, like, we're at the point where both you and I are fairly competent creators, I feel like. And we can, we do a lot of pretty good stuff that obviously, like, we know we can improve on, but we're not at the top 1% yet, like, by any means of by any
top
stretch
50%.
Top 50%, sure. Yeah. But what this means is we're still at the point where, like, we need to be grinding all the time to continuously get our stuff better. Now, if we get to the point where we're like a JonTron, or like, he's really the only YouTuber I can think of right now that makes sense for this, where like every video is a fucking banger, then it's okay to spend a shit ton of time in between each video, because there's a clear reason why each of those videos continue to get better, are masterpieces in their own right, because they take so much time and effort to make. Hopefully this makes sense.
I think so. It's just a balance, because like, for people our size, to take the time out of the day to make a masterpiece almost at the same time guarantees that you're not putting anything out for 1 to 2 weeks.
At the minimum, right?
Which is a death sentence, because when said masterpiece comes out, the odds of it being recommended are low, because you hadn't put anything out in such a long time that, like, what's to say people are even going to watch it in the first place? You have to be, like, consistent above all else. And that just means that some videos are going to come out that aren't going to be fucking magnum opuses. But it also means too, to the people who leave comments of being like, yeah, this wasn't one of your best 30 for 30s, or yeah, this video had an issue. I know. I knew when I recorded it. I knew when I edited it. I knew when I uploaded it. I knew when I put the thumbnail on, the tags, and I knew when you were going to leave the comment. I know. I am beyond well aware that that videos that I put out aren't the best thing I could make. And that's not to say don't leave criticism. I just spent like a whole 30 minutes talking about why I want people to do it more, especially with my own stuff. Seriously, I'm looking for that.
Same.
But like at the same time, I know a lot of it, you know, because I'm so fucking hard on myself with the type of shit I put out. You know, like I'm 3 levels ahead on the criticism than you are.
Well, we watch some of our videos together a lot of the times, and it is very difficult for me not to be like, oh, this part of the video I messed up. Oh, there's this error here. Like literally just saying it out loud. Mm-hmm. And I used to do that. I remember having like band concerts in middle school even. And my mom would be like, you did so good. I'm so proud of you. I'm like, yeah, but I messed up in my solo. So it was kind of not good.
It was all for nothing. It was ruined.
But no, you're right. It's like as much as like we need and we love that criticism, a lot of the times, like when you get to the point of doing it as long as we have it, it's just like, yeah, I get it.
I know.
I get it. Most of it. Not all of it. Most of it, yeah.
But again, like, still leave the criticism. Don't take this as a stop leaving criticism on our videos, because I'll take 1,000 obvious critiques if one of them is going to be the type of next level shit that I might need.
Exactly.
You know? Leave them. But still, like, a lot of the time I'll get it and it'll be like, okay. You know what I hate? You know what I hate more than anything?
What?
A comment or critique or response that's just like, yeah, it was fine. Oh.
Yeah, that would dishearten me.
Oh. It was just fine. And that's it. You never know why. We never know what fine to them means. If fine means good. If fine means okay. If fine means mostly good but had an error. If fine means amazing. We'll never know. It's fine. It's so ambiguous and says nothing about the video that I actually made that I would have rather have you told me to go fuck yourself.
I honestly though, or just like not leave a fucking comment.
Because then I know. Oh, you hate it. Great.
Right.
Awesome. It's fine tells me nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
Even it's good can sometimes get in that same boat too. But I at least know it's good comes from a place of like, okay, they like
it's good as positive.
It's positive. It's fine means nothing.
It's fine sounds like my girlfriend bitching about being fine when she clearly is not fine. The word fine is negative. I don't care what anybody says.
There's a little undertone in there that's like, ooh,
manner.
What do you mean by fine? Like what about it is not great, you know?
Yeah. And the more you prod that person, the more they're just like, it's fine. Just leave me alone.
That don't help me. It's just making me madder.
It makes me upset more and more.
But no, you're right.
You're right.
I hate that. I could have a whole podcast about how not to leave criticism, the type of shit I hate. I have so many of those nitpick shit.
The very little nitpick shit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I could go off on that. But it's fine's the worst one by far. That's the stuff I hate.
I don't like it when people tell me I'm fat. It's like, look, dude, I know.
I'm well aware of the thickness present.
I had Taco Bell last week. I understand.
Again, we think about this stuff a lot. I feel like most people who are improving and are trying to get better are legitimately thinking the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So it gets hard to legitimately find criticism that comes from a more insightful place sometimes. Yeah. We've already thought of everything. You know,
it's
most things.
It's hard. It's like when you're in a college setting and you're critiquing people who are already kind of like at the top of their game. It's like clearly they're going to college because they want to learn more about this particular topic at a very, high level, but fuck, is it not like every little thing you're going to tell them is wrong? It's so nitpicky, it doesn't even actually matter in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine going to graduate school for music. It's like, cool, thanks for telling me that, like, my one note out of this 300,000 piece solo was flat. Cool. Epic.
I knew it was flat as I was playing it. And I'm like, oh, okay. This wasn't helpful at all. Like,
yeah.
Is the criticism you're leaving actually gonna help? Right? Think about that when you're writing criticism or letting people know. Just ask yourself some basic questions. Like, number one, what am I coming at this from? What's the context behind it? Why are you leaving the comment? Number two, is it harassful, drama? Is it bigoted? Is it just straight up personal insults? If so, don't write it. Number three, is this actual piece of criticism going to help the person, or is it better off that I don't leave it? And number four, is said criticism actually impactful? Does it matter? Is it a critique that will help? Is it true? Are you lying? Like, there's a lot of questions you could think about here when you're putting forth whether or not you should leave criticism. And most people don't think through it at all a lot of the time, but like, they're important questions to ask, I think.
Definitely.
And it's something that a lot more people could go to do, for sure. I guess so. A question I have for you is, like, we've kind of talked about, like, critiquing other people and other YouTubers, but, like, in terms of having criticism in a video, when you make a video that's critiquing a video game or a movie or something, or even a YouTube video, because you've done YouTube related Your Everyday Nerds.
True.
Has your, like, critiquing process, your criticism process, like, has it changed as you've done Your Everyday Nerd? Do you like where it's at now? Think you could be better? Like, where are you at on that?
It's constantly changing. Constantly. Even down to, like, letterbox reviews on movies. Like, those have constantly changed. Because the more time you spend thinking about, analyzing, critiquing something, the more you learn about that media or that medium. Mm-hmm. And the more, like, great things and awful things start to sneak out to you more and become more apparent. So it's constantly, like, evolving. Like, honestly, I could probably re-review certain things and have, like, brand new.
I could too. For sure.
Shit to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
I made a Breath of the Wild video a couple years ago that people in this Discord do not particularly like.
I'm one of them. Heyo.
And it is because I say that the open world is mediocre. And do I disagree with that currently? I don't know, because I need to replay the game and have, like, new opinions on it. And that's my thing. I'm always, when it comes to, like, critiquing things, I'm always thinking, like, okay, what are my thoughts on it now? Because sure, I watched the movie 2 years ago. I played the game 5 years ago, but I'm sure I have different, more nuanced opinions on it now.
Absolutely.
Not all the time, though. Sometimes I'm like,
You want to talk about interesting criticism? On said Breath of the Wild video, Aden left a 2-page essay about the damn game, every point Zach had.
Yeah?
And my particular thoughts on him. Is that necessarily criticism that helped Zach in the video? No, not really. But I wrote it because I was genuinely interested in the subject, and I just figured, hey, I wrote all this shit, I might as well put it in a public place.
Definitely.
That was more of a for me thing than a necessarily for Zach thing specifically, because I was just really interested in the subject matter. But it comes from a place of caring about the topic in the video that I, did that.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't necessarily help you in particular with the Breath of the Wild video going forward.
I mean, it does help, though. It not only does it help in terms of, like, creating, continuing the conversation that I started with the video, but also in the kind of way that like looking back on that video, watching it very recently, actually, I realized maybe I was a little stupid head, like, and like thinking about yours and Jay's criticism of my video, like it does help, and it does help me like go forward to like maybe think a little bit harder about some of my thoughts, or at least have better reasons for some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, like other parts of the video, like I still do agree with. So it's
not all 100% awful. It's still worth making. You know?
Right.
Started the convo in the first place. Brought the
Exactly.
discussion up, and got people discussing.
Yeah.
I know for me, a lot of the time of like, as much as I've talked about games now, like, number one, the question comes up of like, how can I talk about this game in an interesting way?
Mm-hmm.
And so usually my go-to answer behind that is a question or a subject matter that, like, Golden Axe 2 review for 30 for 30 is technically the video is about Golden Axe 2.
Right.
But the lead-in to talking about the game is my opinions on sequels. That's what the video is, right? Mm-hmm. That's what the subtext of it is I'm using Golden Axe 2 to talk about my opinions on sequels. So even if you don't care about Golden Axe 2, there's another element to it where it like has something involved. The Sonic one is like, okay, yeah, it helped me reviewing Sonic. But it also comes at it from the angle of, here's literally how Sonic came to be and why that's almost more important than the game itself.
Right.
You know? Because that's the element I had to take into it to make it interesting, to where it wasn't just Aden opinion on Sonic, Zach opinion on Breath of the Wild, Aden opinion on Naruto. Like, to me, there has to be another element of it, a reason, a second reason to talk about said thing, to make it interesting for people viewing it at home who may not care about the subject matter, but are interested in the hypothetical or the angle I'm taking a look at it from.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So that's one thing. The other thing I look for a lot of the time is like analyzing my own critiques and asking if they're hollow, you know? Okay, Aiden, you said the stage layout bad. Why? Oh, because it's a fucking maze. Great. That's what I need to know.
What does that mean? Right.
Saying things generically like the controls are good doesn't help people know why that's the case. So like making sure whether you like something or dislike that has reasons behind that, and they're clearly stated in the video, and you elaborate on them, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't want your video to be 40 minutes. You don't have to elaborate about every point you make. Sometimes you just got to say something out there, and that's all it is. But for, like, key things, you know, if you're going to say Ocarina of Time, a stinky game, you got to give me some reasons, you know? Especially when you're coming at it from the minority opinion. You have to prove yourself a lot harder than people who just say Ocarina of Time good.
This is true.
You have to put in way more work to, like, clown on a game that people love than to just clown on fucking Bubsy 3D.
Yeah. And critiquing it, again, just in general, even with like YouTube videos, it's saying something good, saying something is bad, like that just doesn't help. It doesn't help the creator. It doesn't help the other viewers that are watching the videos. It's just saying like a thing that like, okay, cool. What makes it good? What makes it bad? Like that kind of stuff really helps in all forms of criticism. And
I want it to be clear, like with almost every video that I do, that like this is my personal take on said thing. I very much come at it from the angle that like all art is subjective. And even though I'm going to try to like critique and say bad things about it, it comes from my own personal bias and viewpoint about video games, right?
Right.
And so I also try to make that very clear when I talk about games that I don't like or really do like, what specifically about those things appeal to me. And that helps a lot of the time in finding the why, you know?
Right.
And chances are, if I can't, I shouldn't be talking about the game in the first place. I have nothing to say, don't make a video about it.
I agree. Yeah.
I can't come at it from an interesting perspective. Okay, shelf it for later. You know.
Oh yeah, I've put media that I've watched or played or something like on the shelf and just been like, all right, cool. I have nothing interesting to say about this. Like, I cannot make a video about this, and just moved on with my life.
I made a whole 30 for 30 about Alien Storm being so uninteresting. That was the angle I took it at from, the why.
Yeah.
What makes the game so boring and uninteresting that you have nothing to say about it? And that's kind of a cop-out.
A little bit,
but the point being is that, like, the Alien Storms of the world, if you really don't like them, you're better off just not talking about them. You can try to be clever like me and turn it into a thing, but you can't be making videos like that all the time, especially if you're talking about media. Not every YouTuber is a critic or a reviewer, but there are a lot of people out there, and, you know, there's a lot of bad reviewers out there that are even popular that sometimes get to me with their critiques coming from a place of authority that they do not have.
It's unfortunate. The nitpickers of the world.
Yeah. People who should be a little bit more grounded in realizing that it's their own opinion and make it clear, you know?
No. But it's objective. No.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
No, it's not.
Films. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Leaving critique, guys. I'm not clowning on High Top Films. I'm being a critic of his content. All right? Not just shitting on him. Even though he probably should be.
Yeah, well,
whatever.
You hate to see it. Honestly.
He's doing well for himself, all right? Like, he
do be.
He do be doing well. I'm just saying a little bit of criticism directed toward him might not be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Some people need more.
Making points.
You know? Some people need a lot more criticism.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're popular, like, bro.
A lot of big creators, like, I'm sure they get a shit ton of bad criticism, but they could do with some good criticism here and there. Like, hands down, because
they get comfortable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the blatant shit that should have been corrected in video 1 or 2 ends up sticking around to video 1000. Like, oh, we could have had a lot better stuff had someone, like, spoke up a little earlier, you know?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Sad. That's kind of sad.
How that works out.
But yeah, I think I'm good on the criticism topic. What you think?
I feel like we covered everything. How to give it, how to take it, receive it, critiquing in videos, critiquing ourselves, being open to shit. Obviously, there's a lot of, like, people have different opinions on it, and I'm sure you guys down in the comments, if you do disagree with us or agree with us, feel free to critique our critique of criticism. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's an advice podcast, right?
For sure.
Like, we're definitely going to have some disagreements there, and that's fine, and I'm open to the discussion. But this was a topic we've been meaning to cover for a while, and I'm glad we finally covered it. Because it is a big part of YouTube and social media as a whole.
Yeah.
Epic, bro.
You want to do some comments?
How far back are we?
We've only got 2.
You checked?
Yeah, we've only got 2.
We did?
Yeah. One on episode 50 and one on episode 52. And I just sent them to you.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to check the email right quick, but I mean...
Check the email.
I doubt there's anything there, but if you want to, hit us up on our email, anotherytpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us questions, comments, topics.
Don't forget topics, Zachary.
Topics. I almost forgot about it.
Who?
Yeah. Yeah.
All your feedback is nice. Even if you just want to say random dumb shit. We get a lot of that too.
Yeah.
You know what? That drives the engagement up. It's epic.
I agree.
So we have 2 comments here. One from Calfro and one from Patient. I'll start with the Calfro one.
Okay.
He left a response, I guess, on episode 50 because it's from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He says, "Can you guys just do an episode where all you do is shout out random things that come to mind?" Okay. Naruto.
Sasuke.
Zabuza.
Sakura.
Kakashi.
Konohamaru.
Bow rounds.
Lipton green tea watermelon.
Diarrhea.
Mistakes.
Taco Bell.
More mistakes.
Denny's.
Oh no. The biggest of mistakes.
All right, well, that's pretty good.
Cool, yeah, I like that.
Imagine just an hour of that, though, where we just back and forth just yell things at each other. Would there be advice in there? Probably not, but it'd be interesting for a while.
It'd be an interesting experience and experiment.
It'd probably have to be your week on YouTube. Because 30 minutes is a lot more manageable for that type of concept.
I think so, yeah.
An hour of that would be miserable, I think.
I would hate living more than I already do.
But thank you for the comment, Cowfro.
Yeah, thank you for the Cowfro comment.
Cowfro comment Cowfro.
Yeah. We have another comment from Leah / patient that says, "Ain't nobody controlled me, my Twitter, except me. I will continue to be chaotic."
Bad bitch energy for sure. Absolute bad bitch energy.
Speaking of patient's Twitter,
do we know her favorite games?
Well, I mean, we do, but that hadn't been tweeted out recently, unfortunately. I hate to see it.
Patient, you know what to do.
But I will say that there's been some wild and shit that she's been putting up lately.
Very chaotic energy, one might argue.
Yeah. Yeah, it just...
Kind of epic, though.
It do be kind of epic.
Also...
Yeah.
I would say that it is very on brand for Patient to come out with tweets and statements that rub people the wrong way. That's all. It would not be on brand for me or Zach to do a similar thing. So in a way, Patient just kind of proved our point from the branding episode altogether. So
yeah,
we're right, you're wrong.
I would say so. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So,
she said that she used to be a Miiverse role player.
Ooh.
That was a tweet.
That do be kind of yikes.
And I'd say that's very in character for her.
Yeah. You know, most Parker tweets I see is him like responding to Jack's Films Yai tweets.
It is. It really is.
And that also kind of on brand for Carrie and I, you know.
Very, very in character for this dude.
On brand for sure. But that was the point of the comment about the Twitter thing, is like, you know, whatever works for you works with you, but you got to be like consistent with that, right?
Definitely.
And so if your vibe is just random chaotic shit and people like it, then go for it. If it don't work for you and you're just making up shit, at that point it's like, you know, take it or leave it. It was mainly a thing where we were critiquing people who just like said really dumb combative shit for no reason.
Yeah.
And people who complained on Twitter, which Patient does not. A lot of we really got into complaining people on Twitter.
Yeah. Most of the people that I have a list on Twitter. I should have mentioned this in the episode. You can make customized lists of like very specific people, and I have a list titled "My Homies" or "The Homies." And it's just like the main people in the Discord and the main like friend group that I want to see like everything they tweet. And usually I don't necessarily want to see everything they tweet, because like Danku's in there. I don't need to see everything he tweets, but he's in there. But it's like that's what I do to like combat the nonsense that I don't want to see every day.
It helpful.
Helps. Yeah, definitely.
Gives you the tools to cut out the bullshit.
Exactly.
And one could argue Twitter could do that more, you know.
Yeah.
There should be more things
to
help do that. Because there's still a lot of whack shit on Twitter that could easily go away.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But hey, you know, that's a whole different policing Twitter.
That'll be for our Twitter 101 episode coming soon.
Don't. There you go. Congrats.
Figured it out.
That's the episode, everybody. Don't be on Twitter.
Do it.
If you want our actual thing, we did it in a 2020 content creation in 2020 episode. We talked about Twitter.
We did. This is true.
What to do there. Like everything on this podcast, chances are we've covered it in one form or another.
Yeah.
And we're just redoing the topic or doing a different spin on said topic.
Rehashing everything.
We've done 50 of these. Like, odds are we were eventually going to come to the point where we were just talking about shit again.
Yeah.
And so that's it. But no, we technically haven't done a Twitter 101 episode. So
True.
It could be wild then. Also, before we sign off here, you particularly in the DMs did some shit that surprised me about the podcast. Our episode 49, Let's Plays in 2020, your week.
I forgot about this. Yeah.
Is now our highest listened to episode with a total of 252. Is that listens or what is that?
Listens.
I guess listens. Okay. Yeah. And that shocked me. That caught me off guard. Because that was the last episode before our break, I believe. Was it? Or was it the one we came back with?
It was... I think it was the one we came back with.
April. It was in April 14th. Okay, maybe so yeah, we came back with that one, I think.
Okay.
Because content creation... No, that was March. Maybe not. I don't know. Either way, it shocked me to death that people really listened to that episode. And now it's our highest listened to. Considering that the talking points really had less to do with, quote, Let's Plays in 2020 and more of Zach was just doing a Let's Play channel.
It was just a Your Week on YouTube episode.
Yeah, like, the whole title comes from Zach saying, oh, I'm doing Zach Plays. That's it.
Yeah.
There's your discussion about Let's Plays in 2020.
Yeah.
It was a great title, though, apparently. It fucking did well.
Apparently.
But it's just surprising that that's our most listened to episode we've ever had.
You do hate to see it.
What's our second? Do you know?
I can check real quick. By the way, we do not have any emails.
No emails. Okay.
You also hate to see that, but it's fine.
Damn.
To be expected, honestly. Oh, does Anchor want to work for me? Oh, that's the come up. Also, there was an error. Okay, cool. I'm logging into Anchor currently, so I'll
hell yeah
very very soon. Whoa. Okay, hold on a second. We had like a big spike in views recently. Or listens.
On the podcast platforms?
Yeah. So Let's Plays in 2020 is still our most listened to at 280.
Oh, it went up. Since you sent the image.
We also have 186 on episode 50.
Hell yeah.
And 229 on episode 51.
Shit.
And episode 52 just came out 2 days ago as of recording this. It's at 77. So...
You guys must really be popping off over there on all the podcast platforms.
People are loving the podcast right now. That's epic.
Thank you. Seriously, I'm humbled.
Really appreciate that shit. I was not expecting that at all. That's still...
I'm sure that the 70 people listening to this are glad they got that shout out. Because you got to keep in mind from like our perspective, in terms of growth of the podcast, I always look at the YouTube channel, which the past couple of episodes have gotten 4 to 5 views, right? Like, in case you didn't know, I guess, maybe people didn't know, we have a YouTube channel, another YouTube podcast, where all the episodes go up. So if you want a video version of the podcast, there it is.
Yeah.
We're not on camera or anything. It's the same as the podcast, but it's just on YouTube. So there's that. But also, like, because that's how I know about what people think about it, I don't get detailed Anchor results. Zach usually uploads them, so he knows a lot of them.
Right.
So I don't know half the time. But no, seriously, thank you to everybody from all the different podcast platforms who are listening to this now more than ever. It's really cool because it gives me like more motivation to continue to try to put out episodes. If 70 of you motherfuckers are going to be there to watch it almost immediately.
It says we have like an audience of like over 150. So wow. That's the estimated audience. So that's really dope. And again, we weren't expecting it because again, I don't check these analytics often either. And it's really weird with podcasts where like with YouTube, usually you get to see those views pretty often. You kind of understand who your audience is. With podcasts, it's almost like you're putting it out into a void a lot of the times.
There's no comment system, right?
Yeah. Which is why we got that email. But yeah.
For you podcast people. Awesome, dude. Well, thank you to everybody listening. Thank you to Cow for Impatient who left a comment. And if you feel like leaving a comment either on the YouTube channel or on the email, feel free to. We'll take topic suggestions and everything like that. I'll also pose the question to anybody who wants to answer it. What is the best piece of criticism you have received? I'd love to read those responses because it feels like all too often we very much highlight the bad. Like, I want to know, like, a piece of criticism somebody gave you that was like, wow, I'm so glad I got this. Thank you so much. And, like, shout those people out.
Same. So, that'd be great.
And even if you don't leave a comment, like, think about it yourself with your own creative work if you are creative. And, like, think about how that impacted you. Be epic.
Yeah. I like that.
I do, too.
Epic. Well, I've been Zach.
And I've been Aden.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of another YouTube podcast.
Believe it.
Nice.
See, now I got to do it this time, so I feel pretty good.
Nice.